Hey there, friends. Our good buddies over at the ATF seem like they're at it again. Questionable story, certainly a questionable outcome, and just as many questions that we had before they even went to this man's address.
According to state police and the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms and Explosives, Brian Malinowski was being served a federal search warrant when he shot towards ATF agents and they returned fire. Both Malinowski and an agent were hospitalized.
It all started around 6 a.m. this morning when ATF agents went to serve that federal search warrant, and that's when everything's really went sideways. We've learned from that shootout that an ATF agent was shot once and taken to a local hospital, and executive director of the Little Rock National Airport, he was shot at least twice, said multiple gunshot wounds according to state police, and his condition is unknown. We were told non-life-threatening injuries for the ATF agent, but we are not given a condition for the executive director. Now, neighbors here woke up to the gunshots. They said that they heard around 5 to 6 and immediately were concerned, started seeing Little Rock police come in, ambulance, fire truck, and just the cars continued to pile on the street. They had a lot of questions because from what they knew, these were great neighbors, and what they saw to this response really surprised them. ATF said that the executive director fired toward them first and that they returned fire. Now, state police have been asked to investigate this. They're going to learn if the use of deadly force was justified. Also, the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Eastern District of Arkansas is handling the investigation as to what this original search warrant was for. We asked to obtain a copy of it to try and learn why they came out to this place in the first place, but we were not able to see that. And just within the past couple hours, more firefighters showed up. They brought some heavy circular saws, crowbars, other equipment that the fire department tells me is used to get into metal. I asked what they're trying to get into, or what they're trying to cut rather, and they couldn't provide an answer at this time.
A lot of crazy stuff. Now, the firefighters went to the house, what was that, 6, 7, 8 hours after the raid at 6 a.m. in the morning with saws and things like that. Obviously, they found a safe that they could not get into, so they were getting the fire department to cut into that safe. Just no telling what they were after. I will tell you this. There's a lot of ATF activity that's been going on over the last year. Everything from force reset triggers to auto key cards to other devices that they deem a machine gun. You'll remember that the Biden administration has tasked the ATF to be as aggressive and diligent as they can to harass as many people as possible, and especially take advantage of the loophole in the rules that they can use to try to classify things as machine guns. And this is how, in Gestapo-like fashion, that they're carrying out a lot of their marching orders. Now, I have a lot of question marks here. First of all, okay, 6 a.m. in the morning. We're going to get to how you and I would react to that here in a second. Look, you can say what you want about poor people, wealthy people. Say whatever you want. This does not look like a hardened criminal, right? I don't know that many of your really hardcore criminals that you need to show up with plans to do a no-knock raid or whatever kind of raid is necessary looking at this. I'm judging a book by its cover because I'm not stupid. If they want to say this guy was violent because he was shooting back at them or because he shot at them, okay, you live in this neighborhood. You don't expect people to kick your door in at whatever time, let alone 6 a.m. in the morning, where, I might add, after daylight savings time, it is still dark in the morning. So if somebody kicks your door in when it's dark in this neighborhood, you can dislike this guy all you want because he has money and lives in a nice neighborhood. That's on you if you want to do that. What I'm saying is, do you really think this guy is the kind of person that shouldn't have fired when somebody kicked his door in at 6 a.m. in the morning? The ATF is claiming that he fired first. He probably did if you kicked his door in at 6 a.m. in the morning. I wonder how I would have reacted. I don't live in as nice a neighborhood as this guy, But I'm curious how I would have reacted, I'm being sarcastic here, had somebody just knocked at my door at 6 a.m. in the morning. I don't live in as nice a neighborhood as him, but I also don't live in the ghetto. So if somebody's knocking at my door at 6 a.m. in the morning, they shouldn't be. I have no company coming to my house at 6 a.m. in the morning. So I'm likely going to arrive at my front door a little apprehensive.
Never mind, it's just the ATF.
I think it's silly for people to think that this guy here was in the wrong for shooting first when somebody kicked his door in. But nevertheless, that's how the ATF baits you into shooting first. Kick your door in, give you a reason to shoot, so they can put a bullet in your head like they did to this guy. By the way, they did shoot him in the brain. They're talking about they don't know the extent of his injuries here, but we do. We've actually got a more recent article that finally came out today, because I've been scouring this for the last couple of days, trying to get information on the warrant, trying to get information on what they were after, what they got, what they left his house with, because they did leave his house with a bunch of stuff. And there's very, very little information on any of that kind of stuff. But there is a little bit more information on some of the reports based on what his brother is saying. They've interviewed his brother. Now, no details have been released about the warrant that led the feds to storm the residence, but Matthew Malinowski, the older brother of Brian Malinowski, said the agents broke down the door of his brother's home and shot him in the head with a high-caliber rifle. Who knows what that is? More than likely a 5.56. The family can't understand why. Quote, the ATF burst into his house and they did it in a manner that was the most dangerous combination possible. The easiest way to have taken care of the situation, the most common way, would be to wait until he gets in his car, pull over and arrest him, or you can wait until he comes to work and you arrest him there. He describes his older brother as a collector of guns, but claims he never fires them. He says nothing short of the presence of a weapon of mass destruction inside his home should have triggered this kind of raid. So we're finally getting information that comes out on the guy's condition, and according to all reports and his brother, the guy's brain dead, so he's not going to survive. Speaking of the guy being brain dead, just to give you another example of how the ATF marches by its own set of rules. There's nobody that polices the ATF. The ATF can do whatever they want. They can endanger as many people, as many pets, whatever they want. In this case, it looks like they are endangering even more people than just the guy they shot in the head when they kicked his door in at 6 a.m. in the morning. According to reports, the ATF is holding his body in the hospital. The man is still alive, technically. His body is still alive. It's still functioning, but he is brain dead. He's trying to donate his organs. And the ATF, as if his body is evidence, will not, quote, release the body so that they can harvest the organs to save other people's lives. His brother said, we just talked to the doctor, there was a large mass of his brains gone, and when that much has gone, just the shot of the bullet going through the brain turns the brain to mush. So it's irrelevant. At that point, the whole brain is pretty much disabled. There was a gunfight, and he suffered the majority of it, and now he's brain dead. We're looking for organ donations if possible. The funny thing is, you can't even do that because his body hasn't been released by the ATF. So even if he was able to donate organs, and he's got very many healthy organs, we can't even do that because the ATF is not responding. So not only is the ATF hurting him, they're hurting other people too. So at what point does the ATF assume power of attorney over a person's body who's essentially brain dead, deceased in the hospital? I was not aware that there was any sort of authority. I kind of fault this brother. The ATF doesn't own the body. There has to be a natural power of attorney. The guy was married, so his wife, I would assume, unless there was other legal things involved, would have power of attorney. The wife should be able to give the hospital the go-ahead to harvest his organs. I'm not saying that the family is wrong. What I'm saying is they're saying the ATF has not responded. Who cares if the ATF hasn't responded? Then move ahead. If the ATF is blocking them harvesting those organs, that's a different story. I would like to see what's going on. I tried calling this hospital. I can't get any information. Naturally, they're not going to give me information, but I tried. I'm trying to find out who is the roadblock in stopping this family from donating this man's organs to other people that could potentially and most likely save his life. How does the ATF assume any kind of authority that would stop a person from donating the organs of an otherwise dead body that just happens to still be functioning, just not via the brain? How does the ATF assume that kind of authority? How does someone give the ATF that authority? That probably enrages me more than anything. If this were happening to me and my family, they damn well better not let the ATF halt some kind of a transition or transformation or harvesting of my organs to give to people and potentially save their lives. Are you kidding me? I looked and I searched as much as I could to find out how and where the ATF would somehow or another obtain that kind of authority, and it's nowhere. I don't find it. I can't seem to find it anywhere. There's no law enforcement organization that should ever have any kind of jurisdiction over a body that is otherwise dead when it comes to something like this. How in the hell does the ATF do this?
God save the Queen, man.
I'm sorry, I thought this was America.
He's so horrible.